Well, good morning, everybody. Morning, Chris. Morning, Scott. Welcome to another Wealth Coffee Chat, folks. Had some internet troubles again, but got it sorted. Children and the internet. Anyway, hopefully you're all awesome and well. Welcome to another marvellous Monday, 28th. Woo! December, Christmas, just around the corner, hey? Gone so fast this year. Well, listen, while everything's warming up, I'll do the old regular intros, as some of you might already know. Jason Witten's my name. If you don't, hello. Good morning to you. If you're new, let us know where you're coming in from. You might have just joined our coaching and mentoring program, and you may have found us accidentally somehow. Shashank, good morning to you. Kevin, good morning to you. Mate, find me on Facebook, Jason J. Witten, and send me a DM, Kev. Thanks, mate. Cloudy Adelaide. Yeah, well, there you go. A bit sunny in the GC today. Good to have all of you on this morning. And hope you had a good weekend. What am I going to talk about today? Well, today I wanted to talk about the economics of our states. Now, for me, for you, maybe you might be in Adelaide, you might be in, the Northern Territory, whatever it might be. But for me, for you, tell me, what are the big four states in Australia when it comes to property investing? Tell me in the chat, what are the big four, the four that have the sort of the economic power that we should have at a minimum, if we can, some exposure, some financial investing exposure in. Because as property investors, you and I have talked about this before, the idea of diversification is an interesting one. A lot of the financial world talk about it, like it's, cracking the atom, which is not. But for us as property investors, location diversification is important. That is for sure. So we've got WA, New South Wales, Victoria, and Queensland. Boom. They are the big four. And let's face it, they make up 80 to 90% of the economic power of Australia. And as property investors, we want some exposure to those economics in the world of property investing. And there's some reasons why. Let's sort of talk about that. Let's have a look at my wonderful drawing of Australia. If you didn't know, that's Australia. Pretty good. Thankfully, I didn't become an artist or something like that because I'd be pretty destitute. So let's talk about this concept of diversification in these states. Here's what I see a lot of for property investors, and why we need to understand some economics of different states at different times, and then understand how we can, as property investors, put a strategy together. Thanks, Chris. Put a strategy together so we can make our investing more more powerful in the right way. So let's talk about this. Here's what I see a lot of. We have someone who might join our coaching and mentoring program. Let's say they live in southeast Queensland somewhere. So usually there's a number of things that by default are planted in this economy, all right? So put them in the chat. If you meet someone for the first time, most people you meet when it comes to their economic exposure, their financial exposure, what are the things? There's 3 to 4 things, depending on who you are and how many people in the relationship. Jeff. 3 to 4 things that most people by default economically are very what do you call focused exposure. Yep, they buy where they live. And, Alison, you're dead right. So what are the things? They own their own home, their principal place of residence is in that one state, okay? They have their jobs in that economy. So let's just call it Brisbane. Let's call it the Gold Coast. They've got a principal place of residence in the Gold Coast, GC. They've got a job in the Gold Coast, GC. If they got a partner or whatever, let's say there's a second job in the Gold Coast, GC, and or often they'll have their business in the GC. And when you add up the financial exposure of that, and then often if they come to us with a little bit of experience or something, they might have an investment property in the GC. All right, so they're fully exposed. So one concentration, their wealth, other than their super, which might be managed by someone else, right? They are 90% single exposure to one economy. 90%. Now, for me, especially when I meet a lot of people, with this day and age, but in this age, we get to meet people from anywhere, all over Australia and the world, to be honest, when it comes to coaching because of the digital experience. Like this, we're having a chat over a Facebook Live, and it becomes even worse when you're in a smaller town. Let's say someone from Mackay or Gladstone or Geelong or whatever. What happens, right? So you get where I'm coming from here. 90% exposure of their wealth in this one spot. Now, when we're all talking, just so you know, that's something we should rectify. Yeah, we should fix. Okay, folks. So let's talk about what that looks like. And we've talked about this before, about the idea of diversification. Which state, let's say you're here already, you got your PPR and your jobs here. That's fine. That happens. Well, there you go, Jeff. Chris, you've got some interesting things going on. All right. So, that's what I like about thinking about it in this way. Your exposure, either positively or negative, can be managed if you think about it in these ways. Let's say you got your jobs PPR. Oh, now I'm not against, to be honest, with this sort of thing. I would happily say, right, no problems. One investment property in, let's say, QLD. All right, we've got the QLD thing going on here. All right, so New South Wales, Vic, WA. Okay. Depending on where you live, ACT down there, depending on where you live, will depend on sort of some, different exposure and different price points and whatever it might be. So for this person, let's say this person or this, couple, right, going forward, you need to diversify. You need to get some exposure in another state, another economy, as we go. What's an example of this? Tell me, what state in Australia, and this might be a bit sort of localized because I've got some experience in this a lot, but which state in Australia had an amazing time for 7-8 years and then was in the doldrums for 7-8 years when it come to property prices and economic exposure because of the change in the mining world? Which state? I probably gave it away. Tell me, which state had this kind of like, yes, we're awesome and we're shit type of, WA, Jeff, you're on it. Western Australia. So, I've had a huge amount of clients with massive incomes and, solid ability to purchase. And, they had 3 and 4 investment properties plus their PPR, plus their jobs, all in the WA economy, which went up and down like that, and this down for those investors was very disappointing, all right, where, many other states at that time went up or held their own when it came to the exposure in the marketplace. So for us as property investors, we need to think about it strategically, smartly, and I like the idea of, at least if you can, this process if you can. So, and ACT is kind of like New South Wales. Now, depending on where you are in New South Wales, obviously, Sydney, the horses bolted when it comes to sub $1 million investment properties that are worth buying. But anyway, we'll talk about that. Sam's going to talk about that tonight, folks. Make sure you come along to mentoring tonight. If you haven't already registered, make sure you do. Now, let's have a look at what this means when it comes to the economies right now. Let's look at what's going on. And, if you can see this, we might break it down where it goes. Economic growth, retail spending, equipment investment, employment growth, construction work, population growth, housing, finance, and dwelling starts. Well, let's have a look at the big kahunas, right? The top three here, or the big states. Let's have a look at what's going on with them. Interesting times. And let's have a look at WA. Now, doesn't mean the other places aren't fine if you live there or whatever it might be. But for me, I say stick with the big four. You won't go wrong, all right? And we'll put ACT in there because it's kind of like a litmus test here when it comes to some of this interesting stuff. So let's have a look. Economic growth. New South Wales, not too bad. Vic, okay. Queensland, absolute winner, chicken dinner. All right? Absolutely crushing it when it comes to this stuff, right? Boom. Let's have a look at retail spending. Not too bad. Victoria, absolutely knocking it out of the park, folks. And Queensland, it's okay. Equipment investment. What happens with equipment investment? Like, businesses feel confident to buy machinery, grow their businesses. So, New South Wales, not so confident. Victoria, it's okay. Queensland, let's go. Let's go, right? All right, let's have a look at this. Employment growth. New South Wales, plenty of jobs. The challenge with New South Wales is, doesn't matter how many jobs they've got, the property prices are just beyond most people's reaches. Like, it's ludicrous, right? Vic and QLD, it's okay. Check this out. It's an indicator of something that's going on. And you guys know this. Where do you think this is leading? This is just kind of like reinforcing as we go along. All right. Well, listen, let's keep this thing rolling. Queensland, down. Check out population growth. Yeah, New South Wales, absolute rock star. Queensland. Housing finance, down. Dwelling starts, down. If we have a bit of a look at this team, Queensland has got some pretty strong things going for it. And I'm a big fan of Victoria, and I'll tell you why. Why am I a big fan of Victoria? Well, Sydney, by and large, those prices are bolted on us, right? And so is Canberra. Check out Canberra. It's going well. But you can still see these two folks, Melbourne and Brisbane, are still pretty affordable when it comes to us as property investors for exposure. Sam's going to talk about that tonight, team. Sam will be talking about this disappearing, the affordability factor of property investing. By and large, Sydney proper, you can't invest there anymore. What are you going to buy? A $2 million house as an investment with a 2% yield? Most people can't do that, right? It's gone, mate. It's gone. The horse is bolted. So make sure Melbourne's next on the radar for that, ladies and gents. If you don't have a piece of Melbourne, then you need to. If you don't have a piece of Brisbane proper, you need to as well, right? Anyway, tonight, Sam's going to fill everyone in on that information and what's coming. So make sure you come along. Wealth Coffee Chat done and dusted for me, folks. That's it. A little bit of a late start, but does that make sense? Does that make sense, everyone? Let me know in the chat. Give me a yes or something if it makes sense. Our diversification conversations are important. They also need to be driven by our buying power, our ability to purchase. and where we're exposed at what time. You don't want your personal wealth having full exposure in one small place from a location and economic point of view. Anyway, there you go. All right, team, that's it. Wealth Coffee Chat done and dusted. Join me again tomorrow for another one around about the same time, 8:10. You guys be awesome, be well. Remember, this thing's a marathon, not a sprint, folks. It takes time. You need to buy something well and don't bloody sell. All right? Keep that thing for as long as you can. All right, folks, that's it. I'm done. Adios.